Okay, cool. Well, let's try this again. Why don't you be the interviewer? Now that we've gone over some of these good tips, I'll be the candidate. And action.
Hi, hi. How are you doing? It's really lovely to meet you.
It's nice meeting you too.
Um, so today we're going to do a programming task, and what I'd like you to do is to write a function, and we'd like this function to take a list of values. So let's say we've got a list. Let's say 2, 3, 2 in that sequence, and this function needs to take this input and remove all the duplicates. So in this case, with this particular input, the function would return 2 and 3 because those are the unique elements after removing all the duplicates. Is that clear?
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
and so what I'd like you to do is to take some time to think of an approach. And then once you have an idea, please discuss it with me.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I'd like to think about this for a little bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, so I think what I'll do is I'll loop through the input, and I'll create a hash map. So as I loop through the input, I'll put the values as keys in the hash map, and then as the values, I'll count how many times I've seen that key, that input before. So I'm not really sure how I can use that though to then return a new list. I think I'm missing something.
So remember that you need to start with a list and return another list, which has the same elements, but only the unique elements, which means the duplicates need to be removed.
Yeah, no, I got that. Yeah, I'm just not certain how I can. It's been a while since I've used hash maps. I'm just not certain how I can use this, to do the next step. I just can't figure out what that next step would be in this approach.
I see. Well, I can't really tell you that. We've got so many candidates, and I don't want to put you at an advantage by telling you what the next step would be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I understand. That makes sense. I'm not sure what to do next.
All right. So you've talked about building this hash map, and you'll have counts associated with each value. So what we want you to do is to return a list that's similar to the original, but with the duplicates removed.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, I'm gonna cut before I get too exasperated. So this is an interesting situation, right? Like Rohit was being very nice. It was a very friendly interaction. Sometimes candidates get stuck. What could Rohit or what could an interviewer do in this situation? And I guess since I know there's a bit of a delay, let me just say on this, one thing that was really nice was that Rohit gave an example of the question. That's that part of being clear and really trying to reduce that noise of misunderstanding. And sometimes if it is, these are toy questions a little bit. If it is a more complicated situation, actually having the interviewer making sure to ask the candidate, okay, here's some input. Like, so the interviewer explains one example case, this input, this output, and then ask the candidate, hey, you tell me, why does this input get to this second output? Just to verify, because sometimes candidates, they're nervous, they're just saying yes, you're just trying to engage them, and that verifies for both of you that you're on the same page. And I know when I do workshops with hiring managers and interviewers, and I always ask, what are you looking for in your candidates? What are some of the competencies and skills? How do you assess them? And pretty much always there's at least one person, sometimes everyone, who's saying, well, I want my candidates to be able to handle ambiguity, or I want them to ask me questions or explain their thoughts unprompted, or ask questions unprompted, or write tests. There's sort of almost like looking for the things that the candidates do themselves, as if they tell a candidate to do something, that's cheating. And I want to draw a very important distinction here, which is that the absence of behavior does not let you assess that. So if you want to assess someone's test writing and they don't write tests, it doesn't mean they can't write tests. It just means in this interaction, they didn't think that was the right thing to do. And candidates get all sorts of weird advice. There's interviews that are about getting to the right answer as quickly as possible. There's interviews where it's about the conversation or the code design. And so ideally, you're telling your candidates up front really what the objectives are, because you don't want your candidate to make a decision that biases, that creates noise. Because candidates, you want to be the one making the decision, right? You want to control that. So don't put your candidates in positions where they are unintentionally making just like noisy decisions. So telling objectives is one thing, but even I'm just going to give this tip right out here, to specifically ask candidates what you want them to do. If they've written some code, if testing is on your rubric or part of how you're going to evaluate that yes/no decision, tell the candidate, okay, now I'd like you to come up with a test suite. Just tell me, what are some of the things you would test to build confidence in this code, or that you would put into a refactoring or whatever. Then you can get the signal of how well they do. How well do they write tests? If you want to evaluate ambiguity, how well someone handles ambiguity, tell the candidate something up front a little bit, like I'm going to give you a vague question, and you're going to need to ask questions, and we're going to need to have a conversation to figure out exactly what you're doing. And then see how they handle that.